I'm sure there are endless studies of the psychology of what happens to motivation when you tell people different stories. The story that certainly was coalescing in my brain was, this is going to be harder without Michael at the table.
I don't really want to do it without Michael. I'm not afraid to lose the podcast. I'm afraid of Michael not being in it and it falling apart. That's what I'm afraid of. If I'm being real, I just don't want to do it without him.
I'm in full support of whatever your decisions are, even if you don't come back. You, in your search for what comes next, that's the most important thing to me.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up? So Michael,
Hey,
so you're making this all about you?
that's what I do.
Another Wednesday, another mini kebab.
Shout out Armin on that
Yeah.
one. Dude,
Yeah.
tonight was crazy.
Shout out to the whole family, the
Yeah,
Armin family.
The Armin.
mini kebabs brought a lot of enjoyment to our bellies.
This is your last episode at the table for a minute?
Like I said, it's the last home game of the season for me.
Yeah. What does that make you think? What are you thinking? What's in you? Nothing?
Nothing.
Just kind of carry on.
Yeah, I'm going to be a difficult conversationalist today. I'm just going to be like, nothing. One word answers only. I don't really feel anything about it, man. No, but really, I
Yeah, you actually don't. You're,
actually don't.
yeah, that's okay.
No, I mean-
it doesn't have to have a feeling.
Yeah, no somber tone. I'm psyched. I think I'm excited to see what's going to happen when I get out there and rolling.
Yeah.
Different states for a month at a clip. Should be fun.
You want to tell people what the kind of idea is? I mean, I guess you just said it. Different states for a month at a clip, right?
Yeah. The agenda would be starting tomorrow at I have to leave my apartment by 5, but they're getting the movers are getting there at 9 a.m. So by 11, I'm gonna head down to my sister in Huntington Beach. Gonna stay there for a week, get my second vaccine, drive down to San Diego for a month with my friend Ross, who I've known since we were, I think, 5 years old. I'm not really sure exactly how old, but elementary school. And then gonna spend a month there, head back for a week to Huntington Beach to house sit my sister's place and watch her dog, and then drive to New York. Gonna be there for about a month. Gonna get to see friends in Manhattan and Brooklyn, attend my another really close friend's wedding, and then that's where really I feel like that's where the trip is actually going to begin. I've kind of done those things before. I've been to San Diego, I've been to New York, I've hung out with Ross, but what I haven't done is a road trip across America where I stop in different states, all of which I've never been to, for a month at a time, and really figure out how to integrate wherever it is that I am. And I'm super excited because I'm going north this time. I usually go kind of straight through or take the southern route, but I'm going north. So it's going to look different. I don't know anything about it. Haven't even planned where I'm going to stop yet. I'm going to do that when I get to New York. And I'm going to be on the show every week from wherever. I guess 4 times in San Diego, 4 in New York, and then somewhere.
What states are we looking at up there? I mean, what's the...
That's great. This is a test right here. Well, I definitely want to start with Chicago. I've never been. I have my 2 friends out there, Luca, who I've been speaking with a lot about doing some work with Status and also just become a close friend as of late, and I'm gonna hang with him. And another friend of mine who used to live out here and moved outside of Chicago. I'm gonna see him, and then from there, just keep heading west. I really want to go to Montana.
Are you going to become a Mormon?
I might.
There's a
'cause
high,
I'm leaving it open.
high
Salt Lake.
probability.
High
Probability. I've no, actually already been to Utah, so
okay.
it's off the chart.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
North Dakota. A lot of like-minded
Haven't
people
been
there
there.
for you, I'm sure.
ND. Yeah. We call it ND over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I haven't been to any of these places. I don't know. This isn't like, oh, where am I going to settle? This is more so just kind of seeing the last 10 states that I haven't seen. And then I think you get like angel wings or something when you see all 50. That's what I heard.
Wait, you're really?
Yeah.
This is a thing?
I don't know. I don't know
Like
what happened.
bald eagle wings?
They actually just appear on you and then you fly away.
On your Facebook page.
That's actually
They
how
just
you
appear.
become a bald eagle. It's all the people that have taken this road trip
Right.
across America.
Wow.
It's actually,
Yeah.
wow.
Think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
about
the
it. I mean-
complete freedom. That's like the grass is greener kind of concept. Everybody wants to be a bird in the sky. So that's what happens when you see all 50 states.
Once you've done it, I think you have to have an American flag sticker on the car the whole time, which I didn't. So if I come back not a bald eagle, you'll know why.
You'll be a hairy
Or you
eagle.
see all 50 states and you just bail on the country. You just turn into a bird and just head further.
Yeah,
around.
there's always Canada.
True. Be a Canadian goose.
You're going to fall in love in North Dakota. And you're going to make us all come visit you there.
The
We're going to be
farm?
like,
Visit the farm.
yeah.
Are you going to make cheese?
I'm going to hang with Kanye.
What happens
in
if you
Montana.
What happens if
Why?
you fall in love in one of these states? Do you stay?
Maybe.
With one of the states? Or
No,
in one of the states?
one of the states.
With someone in the state?
yes,
or,
with, yes, with someone in the state.
I'd be like, I'm sorry, but it's kind of soon. It's only been a month.
What? Who's to say?
You could fall in love anywhere.
Mhm.
True.
Anywhere.
You never know.
Mhm.
What did Mirabelle tell me last night about falling in love? She told me something.
She knows.
We were all washing our hands, and I was
Yes.
splashing them with water. And she told me something about, I forget, I have to follow up with her. She gives some good advice about it.
Yeah, one more thing.
Sydney told me that I
One more thing.
shouldn't read People Skills, the book, in public because no, she actually said to me that I should bump into someone, you know, the original plan that the kids told me, bump into someone I find attractive. I grab them at the last minute before they fall. We look into each other's eyes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Sydney added the fact that I would have People Skills, the book, it would fall too. So
This is a movie.
I don't know how that would go.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
So the idea is that it's an appeal for help. Basically, you say, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just this weirdo looking.
Look
for,
what I'm practicing.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
yeah.
And then eventually she'll find out that
Say me, you have Jedi people skills. You're actually
the whole
amazing. at it.
meeting was planned.
Not only like did you not need the book, you're an author.
I might be by
Boom.
that point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you already are.
True. I've
Designology.
authored.
Yeah.
Designology. Let's
Designology.
not forget about it.
Yeah. It's
What's
it's-
that? What's that silver sticker they put on kids' books when it wins awards? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's on our copy. It was on our copy of the book about the train, Polar Express. I remember.
Yeah, that
I remember the
sticker.
sticker.
Yeah, I know the sticker.
I feel like when I saw those as a kid, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like this
Parental
book is gonna
advisory
be
or something.
insane.
Really? Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm about to connect on levels that only a child can with this silver metal book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there might have even been gold ones.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
I had no idea.
There's gold ones.
Yeah, but they were definitely on the books, and those were the ones I feel like teachers were reading and stuff like that.
Right. It's,
Wonder who
is it a
decides it.
prize or something? Maybe a
Prize, yeah.
It's the Nobel Prize for kids.
For
books.
kids books.
Yeah.
You got to give them
The
something.
equivalent.
all of that to
you
deflect
you
from-
mentioned not wanting a somber tone, but I am one to have somber tone for the last 2 weeks. I'm not happy about it. And I was coming into this episode being very, very, very upset about it. And listening to you talk now, I'm a bit more like, ambivalent. I don't understand why, but I don't need to understand why you're doing it. But I'm not happy about it for my own selfish reasons. And because I want the best for you. I'm not sure that you got enough out of this city during a pandemic to know if it's the right move to have been leaving at this time yet. So I'm a bit conflicted on the idea of you just, we'll just go here for a month just because. If there was a little bit more direction into what state was to offer a potential life or something, and there's a bit more direction, I think I could comprehend it better. But the aloof, just leaving, doesn't really equate to who I see you as. So I'm a little bit conflicted. But I'm wishing you the best.
Thank you.
On that. I haven't really had enough time to process them, processing 2 losses at once. So
as I said to Graham,
we'll get there one day.
I'm not leaving you guys. I'm
You
going away.
You are. You actually, like, by definition, are leaving us. Yes. Like, the band can't go on
Trying to
tour.
soften it.
The band can't go on tour with you doing what you're doing. Therefore, you're leaving.
If you guys are going to North Dakota on tour,
You're not breaking up with us. You're not.
Yeah,
You're not
right.
But you're leaving, like, fundamentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of things there. I wanted to.
You don't have to comment. I just wanted to.
It'll be the 3
It's
of us
part
in
of the show. I
Staples
have
Center.
You don't have
It's
part of the
literally
show
your
to
job.
say I don't wanna
nothing
go
else that I can do right now.
Michael on the jumbotron.
Yeah,
I like this thread of how you see me. Like, you're like, this isn't how, like, being aloof, kind of traveling to the unknown isn't how you see me. And it's interesting, that thread, because I guess what I'm doing isn't, I guess in some ways is how I see myself, which is someone that, we were talking about this last night, you know, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And I don't, but I have enough money to do stuff that I want to do. And then it's like, wait a minute. I thought about it the other day. I was like, wait a minute. I am doing what I want to do, which is, I've always loved traveling. When I told Ross this immediately, he's like, yeah, you have to do that. Like, this is what you've always done and wanted to do. I mean, we were like, I wasn't like traveling into the city when I was younger, but I would like leave the state. I would go to like other states. So that's one thing I love. And the other part is just connecting with people. And I think this gives me an opportunity to do that with people that are much closer. And then the lives that I've been doing are another way of connecting. But then, and art club and the other things going on. But also the people in other states, and then connecting to cultures in other states is something that sort of the research, sociology loving brain of mine does love to do. And I think, so yeah, no, I think the thread of how you see me, and you meaning everyone at the table, like, how do you see me?
I can only say that because I'm relating. I mean, there's not. I won't speak for everybody, but I'll speak for myself. Who doesn't want to do this? I wouldn't choose America. I would go do it like in Europe or something. But this has been the thing. Like, again, since same as you. I was 12 years old, sneaking into Manhattan and telling my parents I was going to someone else's house and hopping on a train. You know, like, there's not an ounce of me that doesn't want to go do this, and I too have enough money to go do this. There's a level of responsibility that I'm not ready to unravel yet. That I think that it makes it hard to. It doesn't mean you're going to. It makes it, leaving and being on the road makes it hard to remain connected and to fulfill the obligations, or to the best of the that the obligation can be fulfilled. And just leaving so soon on the beginning of a potentially, I hate that word, wild ride ahead, seems slightly irresponsible. And that's what I'm pointing out. Not the, of course you want to. Of course that's inherent.
Yeah.
I know that about you as well. And I know it about me too. And I think about it every fucking morning. That's why I'm going to New York tomorrow. And I booked a ticket a few days ago.
It's very irresponsible.
It is. I have to push work back that I might miss out on. I just found out, just a quick sidebar on this. I got a text from Raul the other day. He's like, remember that song that, like, you went to Santa Barbara for your birthday and you couldn't mix that weekend? It's the #1 song in the world, in the whole world, not America, the world. You know, it's
the
like,
galaxy.
And I was like, cool, we'll get the next one. Like, I just I fundamentally don't care.
Don't regret it.
I just don't, no regret. It's my 35th birthday and I had the best weekend that I had in a long time there. But I say that to say, when I think I don't see you as doing this, is that, like, in the moment, of course, I see you doing what you're doing. You just did it. So that's why I can't really come to full terms with it. And maybe I will in 2 weeks when I have more time to process it. Just seems a little sudden
Yeah.
and potentially is an irresponsible move from your brother.
To clarify to those listening, and maybe even to John. So when I was on my road trip last time, which for those listening, for all 33 episodes, shout out to all of you. Thank you. If you made it this far, you will have known that I was on a road trip not too long ago. And when I was there, I had a buddy staying in my apartment, but I was paying rent to be away. And it was like killing me. I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. And I was like, well, what if that wasn't the case? Like, what if I didn't have to pay? Like, would I stay out longer? And the answer was yes, but I still had to pay. And my buddy was only there for 2 months. I had another 3 months on the lease. And it just so happened that my car lease ended the same month. So, one sec. So, I was like, this is kind of perfect timing. It has everything that I want, like right here. There's complete freedom from location and sort of commitment to my car and the apartment. Like I wouldn't be spending extra money. So it was a good opportunity to be like, do I want to stay in the city right now? If not, what do I want to do? If I wasn't doing that, I would have still been on the road potentially. If I had the right car, and if I wasn't renting a car and paying a lease and paying an apartment lease, it would have been different. So now all of those things are gone, and it was like this is actually sort of feels like a continuation of the previous trip. So that's sort of how I'm seeing it. And coming back for, I guess it's been like 3 months.
Yeah,
4 months. Yeah.
2 months.
It's been great. It's been like a really nice moment here where I got to connect with people, mentally connect with the city, knowing that there was 2 or 3 months in it. So I don't know. I wasn't really going, just kind of explaining sort of how I'm viewing the why now.
I'm only pushing
sort of
back on the idea because if, for listeners' sake, to have some sort of value here, I'm sure people are thinking about this all the time, wanting
like,
to
why am
leave
I
the city.
listening to
Well,
this?
whether it's leave their hometown or small town and come to Los Angeles or New York or Nashville or Atlanta or wherever, or leave those cities because they have other value systems, that they're looking to fulfill. So there's got to be something in there.
Oh,
timing is really important for people, for me, and for people to realize like when that time is. And I guess there's no way to really pinpoint it. I just have a resistance to this time. That's all. Yeah.
I think, for me, the position's unique in that I've kind of been building up the business and with the eye of it being remote. So, I guess rewinding back to when I moved out here and when I was starting Status, the vision in my head was I'll actually be able to travel all around Europe, and maybe I'll live in Berlin for a little bit and da-da-da. And then COVID happened. So I was like, all right, now I'm kind of landlocked here. So then my urge to travel increased even more. But now it's all kind of starting to open up again and feeling like the right time. But I think for listeners, there are other parts of this that are interesting. So one being solitude and how that factors into sort of the day. There's obviously, when I've talked about this a bit, connecting with nature and how, where the places I'll be going are definitely going to be filled with that. And then, for people that are listening that are like audio engineers that kind of have to be in a place, this might not be as relevant. I think
California has all of it.
Yeah. But for people that
north.
don't have the opportunity to like get up from a city and travel around, I think I'm not telling anyone to do that. If things are going well and you're an engineer and just stay or don't. It's up to you. But,
I'm just talking to you.
Yeah.
There's Topanga. There's Santa Barbara. There's San Diego.
Yeah.
There's fucking Malibu. You know, there's whatever.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean,
for all of
I'm
that.
going to see them all. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the trip back is sort of, like I said, where the trip actually begins. In a way, I have like an obligation to be at my friend's wedding, and then just so happens to be my dad's birthday as well. And then San Diego, Ross is there, and so even if I was staying here, I probably would have been down there. So the trip back, I mean, where I stop and where I stay is to me going to be really where this whole narrative kind of fills in even more. And I just haven't had the time to do it. Like planning this, literally my apartment is divided in boxes in my bedroom from moving company to take. And then the living room is things to go in my car. I'm like literally planning 2 completely different projects at once. So I haven't really had the time to like figure out exactly where, which will be a fun project in and of itself.
As a man of outcomes, what's the outcome that you would like to get from this journey?
Well, I want to see all the states.
Yeah.
I want to go to places I haven't been. And
Are we writing a song?
That sounds like a means to an end, not an end.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the end is death. That's it for me. I mean,
Oh my
like, and
God.
I'm not dying at the end of it. Hopefully not. You know, that to me, that's the only end. And I think there is a bigger thing here, which is like, again, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? It's like I would travel and connect with people that I care about. I'm doing one of those for sure. The other one is baked into the trip somewhat, but there is the sacrifice of other people that I care about. I won't be near, but it doesn't mean I can't connect. I mean, like, for example, when I was in New York and speaking with Rory, probably more than we ever had up until that point. So I do think there's an opportunity there as well. I mean, the drives I had with people, I definitely connected. So, I mean, for me, it aligns with my values. I think the outcome, there is an outcome that is, I don't know what I don't know. Like, I don't know, there's potential for an outcome that I don't know. And the other outcome are kind of like seeing the states, going to new parks, national parks, seeing beautiful things, which is what I love to do, and working along the whole path. Because I feel like it is a good time for me to do it, you know?
What better time than
age-wise
now?
and age-wise, and I don't have the, relationship commitments or family commitments where I definitely would not be able to do it. So it's like, similar to when I moved out here, saying to myself, if I don't do this, will I regret it? And it's like, absolutely. Like, because there was a moment where, I was like, maybe I won't do this. Like, this is fucking crazy. Like, really? And that's when I was talking to Ross, and he was like, no, you have to. I was like, all right. Like, he's like, this is what you would want to do. And I'm like, 100%. And it's like, I would regret it if I didn't do it. And I think that part is something I want to honor. And I think another outcome, not necessarily related to the trip, but one that is a continued project, is just developing my own personal philosophy of things. And I think one of those is like trying to connect with the things that make me feel good and that I want to do, and not being not doing them. Because I think I've definitely I do put artificial limits on myself, and some of that is even just for things that I would enjoy, and this is one of them. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
Well, I'm going to miss you a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to miss you guys a lot,
Yeah.
all of you, individually
And
and collectively.
If I have one concern, it's that the four of us have been talking for a while about, things that are lacking in our lives and in the lives of people in our community. And the solution for so much of it seems to be a deeper sense of community, like real investment in each other. And if I take a trip like the one you're describing and sort of take it to extremes, you would be talking to 50,000 people a day in arenas and connecting with people all over the world. And that means that you have a small amount to give and get from all the people that you talk to. Whereas somewhere where people settle and put roots down, they get over time, by going through things together, you reach deeper levels of connection and stability, and the antidote to anxiety and depression and a lot of the stuff that plagues us sort of collectively. So my concern is that I see you moving away from the solution to a lot of the things we've talked about. And look, this is, again, that's just one way of looking at it. When you talk about the trip, I'm like, I love this. Like, I love the curiosity. I love like the sort of research brain you have, and like how much you're going to gather along the way. But in a way, you're postponing the deeper rewards of community. And that's the piece that, as someone who loves you, that's the piece that I think about.
That's what I'm trying to
why
get
I
to.
hesitate.
The roots aspect in the home. When is that time? What does that mean to you?
And look, and if
I
you're
have
not
my own
ready,
issues
you're
with
not.
it, so I don't have a clear vision of what it is either. So,
Yeah, I think that's sort of a difficult.
but we came close.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing for the three of us. I mean, Rory has a family, so they have a house. There's a certain amount of stability there. It's an anchor.
Yeah.
And Rory's family is playing that anchoring role in my life, and I'm feeling the benefits. I know you are too, Michael. So it's the opportunity cost that I'm just, as your friend, observing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Great observation.
No, thank you for that. I was trying to get there. I don't know how to get there, so you got there.
You definitely.
That's why we're here together.
Yeah, no, I felt that. I'm like, okay, I see what John's trying to say as you were speaking.
But if you love someone, set them free kind of scenario. I mean, that's how I feel right now.
Yeah, I'm
It's like,
fine with
I
it.
don't want you to leave. Like I like you being on the block.
Yeah.
Like you are my neighborhood. You and John.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the other regulars
Those guys.
up the street.
But the podcast.
Speaking of, got on a walk this morning. Arda at the at Box Coffee, Turkish coffee shop. It's like, hey, you want to come inside? It's like, I'm not really feeling it this morning. I want to go inside. Makes me a nice Turkish coffee. We have a nice little chat. Find that his parents are coming to visit for the grand opening. I'm trying to have like a meze cook up here to bring down there for the grand opening. Just what a lovely chat on a morning I wasn't expecting to have any sort of enjoyment from, just because it's the neighborhood. And running into you last night on our little sunset stroll.
Yeah.
So nice. Just like, oh. Anyway.
Trying out a cologne. What do you think?
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it
I
either.
didn't like it.
It was the last one.
I didn't like it for you.
I didn't like it either.
Yeah. I don't like it, Anyway.
I think that an outcome can be, could be, might be, potential, is that I realize that more deeply, or I'm like, fuck everyone and just live in a cave. But
that's fine too.
It might be, right? But that's a great point. And I'm
pretty close to that right now, but this is my cave we're sitting in.
It's a pretty good cave. Cavernous. Yeah, I think maybe realizing that more is what the trip might do.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it might.
I'm open to however it changes.
Yeah.
If you're like, I don't never want to set foot in LA again, and I don't even like those guys as much as I like these people in North Dakota.
Yeah, that's
like that is what it is.
Right.
You're speaking my brain
I just
right
want
now.
you to want to be here more than that. That's all. That's
Yeah.
my selfish.
Yeah.
That's my take. But you should know it.
Yeah.
What my feeling is.
That's why I'm bringing it up at the table. I don't not gonna have time. I'm going on a plane tomorrow,
Right.
so I'm gone too.
Yeah.
But I'm coming back.
I mean, the guys have articulated stuff that I'm feeling for sure. Spider better than I would have. I think I would have been with John trying to find the words for it. But I think, today I woke up this morning and I was sort of just concerned for this project, for the band, and I think that what we're trying to do, it occurred to me this morning, there is no route for where we're headed.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one doing the kind of thing we're doing in the space that we're doing it. There's no sort of adjacent podcast. It's not like there's Pensado's Place and we're going to do, Castelli's Place, which is just like Pensado's Place, but with John hosting, right? It's not like that. We're trying to do
Bad idea.
something different. And I was honestly pretty despondent today about tonight, about coming down, and kind of despondent, like in many ways the desert was this like high point for us, and we reached for a lot of big ideas.
Yeah.
And mostly I think we slam dunked it. And then there was some fallout, some complications from being out there, sort of, relationally and ideologically or whatever, however you would want to frame it, that we don't need to go into that. That we're sort of unpacking over this period, which has kind of been a damper. And there's just the work of, just the grindy kind of work of admin, of like you and I texting yesterday. It's like this Instagram schedule or this Instagram schedule, fighting with HTML show notes, fighting with Libsyn, I've uploaded the thing but now our memory thing is full. And and Graham's, downloading FabFilter tonight, and we're trying to schedule physical therapy around our admin meeting. There's the work of getting this thing on air, right? Every week, right? Yeah. It's work. There's that. And then I was feeling all that. And then in the afternoon, a friend and a client of Spider's and mine wrote, and I sent you his message. And let me find it again. And it was, we get nice messages. Like one of us gets a nice message every day, and or on the DMs we get messages of people who are enjoying what we're doing or finding it useful or whatever. And his message was, "Yo man, just listen to episode 30. Something you said resonated so much with me. Certain things will just always be intention. My kids want more time with me, and I want more time alone. Those things will always be intention. I found it so cathartic to hear someone say that. My little guy is almost 9 months old." And it's, a dude, and we talked some more. We texted for a good while after that. But it's a dude who's struggling with the challenges of parenting, just the inevitable challenges of parenting. And we have something to say, something to help, my experience and another day it's yours or Spider's or John's. Or better when it's a composite or a synthesis of, it's like John is driving at something, Spider closes it, brings it home with the language. And so many times that happens in different directions across the table. Yep. And that's the power of 4. That's the power of what we're doing and the commitment to be here, even though I wasn't feeling it today. And that,
not at
and
all.
that,
Me either.
And that, and John wasn't feeling it. And yet, when we sat down to dinner, there was a beautiful dinner from Armin that John went and drove and bought and plated and cleaned up after. It's like, that's the commitment, right? And it's really meaningful. But I guess, what I'm feeling is concern. This thing, and I'm not trying to dramatize it, we're all first world citizens here. We all have nice cars and houses and iPhone fucking 12s, right? So none of us is suffering,
I don't
right?
have an iPhone 12.
Whatever.
But we also have
we're in
serious unmet basic human needs.
This for sure.
So, yeah.
What I'm just saying is in the context of the challenges that I'm describing in this podcast, it's of course, there's a foundation of kind of luck and privilege that we have, right? In the entire history of humanity, we're doing pretty well, right? But this project is important and it's hard, and it gets harder with you on the road. And it gets a little more ill-defined, and that track we're trying to forge through the forest or the undergrowth or the whatever it is, it's just that much more challenging to be, and sometimes it's just your energy that we need, and your ability to create order when I'm feeling divergent or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's my, aside from what the guys are saying, that's my concern tonight. I feel like it's a moment for me to step up and kind of help push us to the next thing, and I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't have the move. I wish there was a thing I could jump on the Friday admin meeting and be like, okay, guys, here's this pithy line I wrote, and now everything's going to be okay. But it's not like that. It's like it's a work in progress. It's a journey without a destination. It's a new path, and it really is. Its foundation is this commitment to the conversation, and that's what I in different ways I feel waning, and that concerns me. Even though I think your words, you would say recently that you're more committed than you've ever been, which I'm really excited about. Like, there's I think for probably 20 something episodes, you were struggling with the fact that you don't work in music, even though you make records, which I don't, what I mean? You make your own records with your own songs, which is
not a whole to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole other level.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like, I don't know, there's no ranking system for that. But, this thing, watching your voice emerge, watching you take your place at this table has been really satisfying,
vivifying,
and important for me. To see you do that and grow into that role and sort of like pull us forward at various points. There's episodes that pivoted on your input, where we were deep in the undergrowth, and it was like, I don't fucking know where we're going. And Michael's like, I found a way. It's like, it's around this rock, It was a good question with a guest or a one of those Wednesdays when we're all not feeling it and you show up with a fucking book that's fired you up. And then we're all fired up because you've chosen the way you do. You've curated these amazing quotes or little insights or connected the dots, this thing that you do so well. So, that's where I'm at tonight. Is kind of like this morning I was feeling like despondent. I get the message from our client. I'm not going to name him because obviously he knows he's listening, and who finds what we're doing useful this one thing, this 1 week, and different people have told us about different things, and it re-energizes me. It's like, okay, I don't really care if you're tired this afternoon. I don't care if you haven't finished the masters. You'll go back to the studio after and finish them. Go to the table, do the thing, show up. So I don't know. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, that was really kind, and I really appreciated all of that feedback and praise and all the emotions that were also encoded in that. I love being at the table, both metaphorically and physically. I think it has absolutely taught me, and I feel like, by the way, like there were a few times we were speaking where I just have jokes in my head of sarcastic shit to say, and I almost laughed, but I'm like, I'm not dying, guys. I'm not leaving this show, and I want to make that so clear because I don't see it exactly the way you guys see it, in that I don't see it as any of the things you said going away. In fact, I'm excited to see myself on that trip, see the person I am on that trip, and then what I can bring to the conversation. By the way, I'm bringing books on the trip, so there's no worry there.
You'll still be able to read in these other states?
Apparently, except North Dakota. Okay. I think they have a banned book law.
Does the new car have room for highlighters?
I have a highlighter pocket
nice
in the front seat, in the dash. There's actually a few books I'm very excited to dive into, but man, this conversation, the four of you collectively and individually, as well as this table and the people that attend, that are on the line, that are listening right now, the like 10 people that I continually see every week, and then dozens of other people that come and go because they get bored of these lives. I feel like I'm showing up for all of those people, and I've really felt like lately, in terms of finding my voice, it's been about realizing the impact that could be made from me as an individual that I didn't think was even possible, or really didn't see sort of what path I would take. And I could not have done that without this podcast, without the table, without the audience, without you guys. And that's not going away. Me on my own journey, the same journey that got me to the table, is part of what makes me the fucking oddball at this table, you know? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I initially I did when I first started on this show, but is it a show? Can we call it a show?
You keep calling it a show. It's not a show.
Yeah.
It's a conversation.
Podcast is good.
I like
podcast.
Show, yeah.
Podcast.
We're not performing.
Yeah.
I'm doing a little dance for everyone right?
He's not, thankfully.
Yeah.
I watched Dr. Katz live, and there was a relevant joke. To edit that out, Dylan. Anyway, I think all of us, the decisions we've made in our life have shaped the contributions that we have here. This is another decision. I would love if all of you fully supported it, obviously, but at the same time, it's not always good when everyone supports what you're doing 100%. In fact, I think it's even just from this, it's where I'm learning the things I don't know, you know, or I might not be realizing, or things to look out for. I mean, when I was moving out here, I had a buddy sit me down and was like, hey, just so you know, there are parts of the LA experience that can totally pull you under and get you totally distracted. There are parts that can completely uplift you and whatever. You know, I think you'll make a great decision, but, you know, look out for that, you know, and this is kind of how I feel right now in this moment, is like, there is a potential for us to be more fragmented, for my contributions to wane, or, I think those two are good enough, you know, or bad enough rather. And I appreciate you guys looking out and making sure that I avoid that and continue to show up, how I can when I am away. I will be back at some point.
Yeah. Where you're headed with this is, you know, is interesting to me, because it's where I wanted to go next, which is oftentimes when someone makes a bold move, you know, whether it's a wise move or not, but a bold move, it makes other people uncomfortable. You know, for me, the biggest, you know, I think of the two biggest moves I made in that vein. One was, you know, I had businesses with my brother for years. We talked about this the other day. I had a record store and recording studio with my brother, and it was his studio first. I joined him, and we built up this business together, and we had bought consoles and gear, and, you know, we had a whole bunch of stuff, and we got it to a place where we had a record store that we took over, and one of us would be in the record store, the other one in the studio. So we would do 3 days on, 3 days in 3 days in the studio, 3 days in the record store, and flip. And of course, I loved making records more than I loved running a record store, even though it was a great record store, and I was proud of it. And as I couldn't fit my work into the 3 days, it's like I have bands calling me that I want to work with and that I could really make more money with too than being in the record store. So eventually it's like, I'm gonna break away and go record 6 days a week and do this, make records full time. And it was a really unpopular decision in my family. Like, my brother was really annoyed with me, and my family were really annoyed with me, and it was taken very personally, you know. And the other similar time in my life was when I was thinking of moving here, and we were exploring the idea and just talking to friends about it. And it was interesting, you know, the reactions, you know, some different friends came out of the woodwork and were like, you'd be crazy not to do this. Like, this island isn't going anywhere. Right. You just go there, try it, and come back. And other people who just were not into the idea at all, you know. And I think when I think about what Spider articulated is kind of an opportunity cost or a worry for you. And then a lot of what I'm articulating is a worry for the project, for the podcast, for the friendship thing is separate, you know. I think we can do a good job of staying friends. It's not the same as having you over for dinner and having you swing my daughters around by their ears or ankles or whatever and playing goofy games. But we can stay in touch. As you say, we had some of the best conversations we ever had when you were on the road last time. But my concern, I suppose, is more for the project, and it sort of the move highlights those fears, you know. And I guess if I was to, you know, because maybe we've explored it enough, but if I was to generalize this, I guess, you know, even in a conversation we had before we went on air tonight, there was another example of this, of making a decision that was unpopular with other people and having to check yourself and then say, no, I'm feeling this and I'm doing it. And I'm trusting that this is the right thing to do, you know? I think a lot of people will have been in some version of this. And if you're here in LA, coming here was probably one of the biggest, you know, examples of that in most people's, and a lot of the people who listen are in LA, not everyone, of course.
Absolutely was for me.
Yeah. You've described,
Can't believe I'm still here.
you've described people sort of questioning your decision, and as you say, sort of making it about, kind of making it about them, like why we're not good enough, that type of stuff, you know. It wasn't that bad for me, but it was definitely kind of like, why would you leave this nice town and leave your family and leave, you know, why would you go and do this?
A lot of people still question a lot of my decisions, so I don't blame them.
And of course, what it really points to is people's, you know, I don't know that LA is our final destination. It likely isn't. At some point we'll leave. And during COVID and during Trump, it was like, that might have been sooner. You know, there's a lot to recommend Europe when you compare the US over the last 3-4 years. Yeah. It's been a ugly time in the history of the country, you know. So someone like you making a move like this puts me back in touch with those questions, and it's not comfortable. It's not a good place to be, you know. And we start questioning the future, and then it's like, well, who knows anything about the future?
Right.
Who knows anything? You could come home back here, you know, to LA and like, okay, guys, I'm back. And it's like, well, we all moved to wherever. You know what I mean? It's like, who knows what comes next?
Yeah. And I think that's a big concept for me. I was talking to Ray about it this weekend, like being in the room when my mom passed away and seeing the fact that you could be alive and then not in a millisecond. It really stuck with me in that, like, once that happens, you can't go on a road trip across America. You also can't be on a podcast or be on a podcast talking about going on a road trip across America. You know, like, you lose all opportunity, unless you believe otherwise, which I do not. You lose all that. And to me, you know, this was something that's always been very interesting to me, to travel the States, see them all, make sense of the place was born in, live in.
Citizen of,
yeah. And I feel like, you know, I don't want to bring it there talking about, you know, what happened with my mom and everything, but it really, that was a moment that really stuck with me of like, oh yeah, there is a place and time where she can no longer make any autonomous decision. And there will be for all of us. So, you know, I used to see people going away as there was this sort of undertone of death, like you were losing them.
Of rejection, yeah.
And then I saw death and was like, no, going away is way different, way better. You know, but I really did have to come to terms with the difference between those two things. And yeah, and also for myself, come to terms with, well, if I am living, what parts of life for me make sense? And Sparta's 100% right. I mean, community is a big part of that. Waking up today, having someone message me about a listener wanting to help me edit the book was like unbelievable. It was the first thing I read in the morning. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? When last night we were talking about, it was you and I, right, in the car? Talking about, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to edit this. Oh no, we were listening to the last episode.
Yes.
And I was like,
to yourself,
I have no idea how I'm going to edit this book. And then I wake up today and it's like, hey, you know, I studied English and philosophy. Would love to edit the book. I'm like, oh my God, what? You know, total tangent, but I really appreciated that. Yeah, life is short and I want to try do some things that I might fail at. It might be a totally dumb move, but I won't know that until it actually happens. Everything else is just sort of a projection of what it might mean.
I know that I've been pretty dismissive of Instagram on the conversation here, and everyone will know I've taken a position But I think now is the time to leverage the power of this technology and just put up a poll and let's make it binding. We've made our case.
Should I
we haven't completely made it yet.
Oh my God.
We're still making
We're
our
still
case.
working. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the end of
whole
the episode, everyone can vote, and then it's a binding.
The listeners in the chat. So we have the episode 33 chat. There's
Wait, no. That's you've already got your thumb on the scale. The listeners in the chat, you've been
Love you
back,
guys. Yeah,
back
guys,
channeling
remember.
with those people.
Remember who loves
we
you.
need
They're disqualified.
we need a much
They're precluded
broader.
from jury selection.
This is it.
Remember who loves you guys. Vote wisely. Send a thumbs up if
Who
you
sent
want me
you
to
stickers?
stay. Or
Who
What is
sent you
it,
status stickers?
Douglas Murray, the madness of crowds instead of the wisdom of crowds.
I wanted to touch on so I expressed my concern for you, but I have concerns for myself too in this move. So one of the most exciting aspects of doing this project with you guys is the chemistry at the table. And I find it highly motivating in the same way like playing in the band is rewarding, and it was rewarding to me. It's a kind of like coming back the next week and feeling as if you're getting better in collectively. And my concern is like for motivation, like when I think about this podcast, like the way I would describe my attitude about it is all in. Like I want to stack everything in its favor that I have power to, and any moment that I can dedicate to it, I do. And that includes like the way I listen to things, the kinds of podcasts, videos, movies, TV shows that I decide to take in. I'll go into Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends children's cartoon from Saturday morning to better relate to Michael, like to understand the Marvel world, what the value is there, how it relates to Greek or Roman mythology, and like how we can tie everything together. This all-in attitude to me, I think I was biased in a way where I imagined the same program was running in all of your heads. Like if we go to the desert and we say certain things like community, to me, it means like roots down. It means like all the small things that people do together in between the big sort of important, memorable ones. And it also has to do with this motivation piece, which for me is very much like band performance, sense of mastery, like the sort of basic fundamental human motivational stuff. And with you on the road, the three of us at the table and then you zooming in, to me, like that chemistry is just different. It's not the all-in scenario. It's like we're getting together as a band to rehearse for a year and then cut a record. But 9 months of that time, one of us does a solo tour and they're not actually there. It's like, so in my brain, it was like mixed messages. And my concern was for like, well, how is this going to affect my motivation in sort of the most difficult times for this? And it felt important to me to share this so that you know that like whatever risk you perceive you're taking for you, you're risking more. Like you're risking all of our motivation and our sort of collective thing. Look, this is just a sort of like probabilistic view. If I'm saying, what would the ideal scenario be for our growth? It just wouldn't be you on the road. Right. You know what I mean? It's so I'm sure there's a bunch of things in there. But yeah, that's the worry, is like, what percentage impact will this have? Like the Zoom or the Google Meet version of the podcast on motivation, and our sort of, I don't know, cohesion or effectiveness, or these are just sort of the unknowns that come from it. That makes sense.
It's just gonna be me talking about compression, and everybody be like, "Enough with that guy in the compression. Where's Michael? It was a good idea." Now I can see it. It's gonna happen 3 weeks from now. Oh, remember that thing about compression? Yeah.
I'm just even I'm like, fuck you guys, bring it up, dude. Whatever. Compression episode again? Sure.
It's like, let him go. Let him riff on.
The reality is that the work of growing this thing, of deepening this thing, of bringing better ideas, to the table, making sense at the table. The work is the same. You know, next Friday's morning's admin meeting, the work is the same. We got to get stuck in. We got to get the coffee in, show up, do the work, get through as much as we can in an hour. And
Queue up some Instagram posts.
yeah, exactly. And
The dream.
you know, I'm sure there are endless studies of the psychology of what happens to motivation when you tell people different stories, you know, and the story that was certainly was coalescing in my brain was, this is going to be harder without Michael at the table. And that's what I was looking for today before this friend texted. I was looking for like the thing. I've just got to do a thing. I've got to, like, all I can control. I can't stop you going on the road. I can't make Spider do anything. I can't make John do anything, or Graham or Dylan. It's like, all I can do is tonight, you know, think about when I have my coffee, what I listen to on the way down, how I am when I get here. And then Friday, you know, what I read and take in between here and Friday, and then how I show up on Friday's admin meeting is like what I bring to the table. Really, the work of this thing is the same, but it's the story of kind of like, we'll all go down together. We'll take a bullet here together, guys.
Yeah, but it's the working together to help each other level up.
Yes.
To level up our thing. That's not solitary work.
No.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, my experience of playing. I remember when I was in music school, I wrote a piece of music with another guitar player that I could only play my parts when he was playing. It was like this weird, it had this open tuning thing and it had this key shift. It was really kind of an ugly piece of music. It was like a sort of a conceptual idea. It didn't actually didn't sound good really. But I wrote it and there were these runs in it that I could only do. I could try them 100 times on my own. But when we played it together, he was a phenomenal player, way, way, way better guitar player than me. And when he was playing, I could do those runs effortlessly. And I had that experience there where we were talking about Irish traditional music last night. I got to play with a uilleann pipe player, which is like the most uniquely Irish instrument. And he was like probably the most iconic player of that instrument ever to live. He just died recently. And through a weird sort of set of circumstances, I got to do a show with him in a tiny bar. And I'm doing things that I just can't do. I never before that night, and I never have since, played the guitar the way that I did that night. And not like flashy things, not crazy riffs and solos and bends, like locked in and playing supported and really, I mean, he actually had the ability to like bend time, which is incredible. Like I don't know if you've played with people like this who can just stop time and like make a note last as long as they want and yet be on the next beat when they should be. It's like, this is ridiculous, you know, like a crazy rapper or a jazz saxophonist or whatever. He had that thing. But you're in those situations, so I'm not at all discounting that. I've lived it, and there's definitely language and ideas and concepts and sense that we make together that can only happen when when the ball is going back and forth between the different pedals and you know, just like what happened at the start tonight. John decides to put it on the table, which is a ballsy move in and of itself. Hey, I'm going to lay this out, what I'm feeling here. And then is hunting for language and ways for it to connect. And you take it the next step forward. And it's like, that can only happen the way we're doing it, you know?
Yeah, I see it as an art form that I'm not great at. And I want to be great at it. And I need you guys. And there's a chemistry element that I think matters. It's my professional opinion.
Yeah, it definitely
as a
matters,
producer of things.
Yeah,
I think it matters, like it being in practice together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to share a quote that I wrote down today that I didn't expect to be applicable today, but I think it might be. Dude, Ryan Schiller was on Lex Fridman Monday. 21 years old.
Yeah, I listened to most of it.
Yale kid, like
the Ivy League anonymous discussion thread.
Yeah. If you're afraid to speak metaphorically, if you're afraid to speak imprecisely, it can be very difficult to actually think at all and to think to the extremities of what you're capable of. This is the creative step to new knowledge. And I was like, that's what we're all doing. We just speak. And I'm really not good with language. And then I say something and you say it, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what my favorite podcasts do. And I'm assuming in the music space, there's a lot more people like me in it that are thinking the same thing. Like, I just don't have the words for this. And then you kind of come in and amplify it one step at a time. And we all do, we pass it around. And that just like one of the only smiles on my face today was from that quote, walking around the hood this morning before I got a Turkish coffee. I was like, that's what we all do in here. I don't even know what I would do without being able to do that, because I don't really have that other places. Not that we couldn't find them other places. I'm sure people are open to thinking like that, but just on a regular basis in the practice of it. It seems special. Yeah.
Yeah, it is special. And
not that goes away with you on the road.
It doesn't. It's the chemistry feedback thing. It's like, to what extent is it a compromise? And so it makes ambiguity.
And as given our limited abilities and the fact that we're on this high wire, the fact that there's people on the line tonight listening live, it really makes a difference, and the fact that we know that this thing goes out there and people react and they send us messages, it really adds stakes, to what we're doing.
There it is.
And
high stakes.
He came to it.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I have come to it with the work we did, whatever episode, to understand it. The word, whatever, but the concept is for real. I was thinking today about that, how I've just been on a crazy tear of unsubscribing, unfollowing, cleaning out bookmarks in my browsers and just deleting apps, like just getting rid of. I mean, I've probably unsubscribed from 10 mailing lists a day for weeks now.
Me too. I'm with that one.
It's like, why on earth?
How did they get us anyway?
Well, I had a mode for many years of being across a lot of knowledge, an aggregator of sort of stuff that was happening, and I found that useful for a period of my life.
It was a phase,
and now it's not as useful anymore. Now
it's a burden.
The space to think, and I would rather go into situations and not know the fact and have a better operating mind. And someone can say, hey, have you heard that Waves have a new plugin? It's like, I hadn't heard. Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I probably won't buy that. And I'm available mentally because I didn't read 22 emails. Like, why would I get emails from Sound Toys? I haven't had a Sound Toys plugin on my computer for 7 years. Why would I still get their mail?
I think that's the cutoff.
It's the same email.
If you haven't used the plugin.
Yeah, it's the same email every time.
Yeah.
They're still doing...
We'd love to have you back.
Little Altar Boy or whatever. It's like for $25, Yeah. Waves, it's like negative interest rates. They've discounted so much. They send you $1 with the plugin. It's like, come on, man. Give me a fucking break. It's so boring. No,
I'm with you completely.
Anyhow, I don't know where I'm going with this, but this
unsubscribe. You've been on a tear.
Yeah, just making space and yeah, this is what started me thinking on this. Is we've all individually had amazing conversations on walks or over dinners or long phone calls where one of us is driving, or when you're on the road. Michael, I'm pointing to you all individually. Sorry for the listeners. And I'm thinking of different times, different conversations. We've had long, deep conversations, but often life gets in the way. And this thing with the audience, the guy doesn't get off the high wire halfway through and say, you know what? I left a fucking chicken in the oven. Like, he's doing it. Maybe it's not a show. He's doing his thing, and there's an audience, and the commitment of being at the table definitely levels us up and sort of stops us from bailing when it gets difficult and awkward and or challenging or just boring. It's like, well, we're going to keep going here. We're going to keep playing until we find something good. And that doesn't happen when you have a choice. When it's just a phone call or it's just lunch, it's like, well, I'm gonna go back and take a nap, or you know what, I'm too, I know you texted about having a call, but I'm flat out, I'm doing a thing or whatever. There's no.
I mean, I booked my New York trip around the dates.
Yeah,
I thought about just doing a whole week or even 9 days. It's like, nah, I'm gonna come back leave Thursday morning, come back Tuesday night. It's like just so I can, and it was like, oh, I can come back Wednesday morning. Now I'm be too tired to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even know. It's just a reflex at this point. It's just like,
Mm.
I mean, I'm pointing at Spider. This is always weird when I say you.
Yeah.
I mean, you straight up asked us all to do it.
Mm.
And I was like, sure. I was like in December or something like
I
that.
just wanted to know where we all stood.
Yeah. It was very helpful.
Where do we stand on this?
Yeah.
Like, what is this level of commitment? Again, we say words like community. Like, what does that?
And then in the
really mean?
same
Like,
breath, or at least a moment, I think I said the same thing that I'll say again now, and I don't really want to do it without Michael.
mhm.
I'm not afraid to lose the podcast. I'm afraid of Michael not being in it and it falling apart. That's what I'm afraid of, if I'm being real. I just don't want to do it without him. And I really want to do this. Or at least that's where I'm at now. Who knows what I'll be at in 2 weeks when he quits. Just kidding.
Yeah, I think the podcast.
They're being really eloquent
I
and
know.
sensitive, and I'm just going to come at it because I'm really feeling the feels.
So anyway, I went on Instagram Live today, and I'd love to tell you all about it.
we saw it.
Yeah, it was
We
on
saw-
my TV.
Back to what I
75 inches of Michael Morgan in my living room.
This transparency about what we're trying to do, there is no, I said it at the start, there's no roadmap for this thing. There's no model. We look at, it seems absurd to say it, but we're looking at people like Lex or Sam Harris or Eric Weinstein or, these people as our Schmachtenberger, like our icons of sense making. And they just are so educated and so smart and so eloquent and
in dialogue with such interesting people.
Yeah, and really they're operating at this extraordinary level
Yeah.
that I think it would be very hard for any of us to reach. But we're here and we're curious and we're in LA and we're engaged with it and we're listening to those people and we're modeling behaviors, and approaches and sense making on what they're doing and trying to share it and trying to evolve this thing into something. I don't know what it becomes.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm getting at with this. Like, the podcast is a form that it is a form or a version, a layer or a dimension of what we're really contemplating, right? Which is this bigger question of community and how do we organize? Like, what does a community need to thrive? How can we all be better off? How can we get more out of our affiliation to a community than we contribute? And you only do that by organizing and organizing in certain ways. And I think that's what we're trying to discover ultimately. Like, how do we all of us help each other level up? Like, what kinds of structures can we make? The podcast is a piece of that. And I think like the bigger question is like, what are the four of us going to do because really, if we're talking about helping each other level up, the four, like we're four, like on an island, like we're not connected to other people.
Yeah,
like we don't have
not
other people
possible.
in our industry that we interface with. Like there isn't like generations below us who need guidance and advice and like not be led down the primrose path to nowhere. There are bigger questions at the table than the health of the podcast per se, but the podcast is our first effort to converge on a mission and succeed. And on that we can build, so it's a test of like what's really going on. We're talking about meeting basic human needs, working together to discover how to do that in a world, in a culture that is, there are forces, cultural forces that are making that harder. Right? There are trends going in the wrong direction. Isolation, loneliness. We hear about the epidemic of loneliness, like loneliness kills more people than a lot of diseases, apparently. I don't really have the words for it yet, obviously, because we're still working on it. But, I think like, I think it's interesting and useful to focus on the podcast, but to me, the podcast is a necessary aspect of a bigger thing, which is actual people living actual lives. working together or contributing to a greater kind of whole. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I suppose I was making a case for, you're right, John. This is what we're all thinking tonight. And you have to put it on the table. And I think this is just the mode of what we do, which is to be transparent about the struggles with the podcast or the challenges or the stuff we're excited about,
We'll get there again.
Yeah, yeah. And I like when my friend wrote today with that text that I read earlier, I just said, thanks, man. I needed that today. I needed to know that it mattered today. I needed that reminder.
Yeah.
Because you forget. It's like you forget that this thing lands in people's ears and affects their decision making or helps them in some way. And it's like sometimes a reminder is really useful.
Bring hope when things look dark.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a really good install this week on Monday with the winner of the PMC IB1 giveaway that we did last year.
Those guys were great.
Nice.
Yeah, Chris Sanders and
Yes.
and Jordan. I forget his last name. Mannix Music. Those dudes. It was. It's always fun to put PMCs in somebody's studio when they've never heard them before. This is always really fun. First few records you play, very important to me. And it was really a very uplifting experience. And, they'd been through some recent difficulty, and like to be there and to IB1s are massive, awesome sounding speakers, right? To bring that, to elevate their situation in that way and to bring hope and excitement and optimism and enthusiasm and all of that at a moment like that has real meaning. It's not like, oh, I'm fucking flash right now with this new speaker system. It's not that. Like you never know what people are dealing with in the background, and you never know, like, you're going to show up that day and be normally nice, and it can mean a lot to somebody. Like the things I hear people say in podcasts do things for me. You know what I mean? They uplift, they challenge, they like break down myths I'm holding in my head or false beliefs I didn't know I had, or like there's so much that I get from hearing people in conversation. It is a kind of privilege to be able to get and to give, if it makes sense, through conversation. I mean, conversation is the mode. What else is there? Coercion. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no other means. Art and conversation.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's hands-on. Otherwise, we're fighting in the streets. Like, it's.
And art is a conversation. It's just the one for the stuff we don't have the words for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All
right, guys, I'm staying. I'm gonna renew my lease. I just texted.
No, the Instagram poll came in. You're going. Yeah, it's binding. Sorry.
Yeah, let's see what they have to say.
I swear, man, I
got a thumbs up and a fire emoji and a goat.
You got a goat?
I gotta go.
If you got a goat, you gotta go.
You gotta go. Well,
I was hoping you were gonna pick living in Santa Barbara so I can come up every weekend. I would drive to Santa Barbara every fucking weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
I love it there. I almost went there this weekend instead of New York, but New York makes more sense. I was going once a month. I love that place.
Yeah, it's really.
I think I'd buy a house there before I went to LA.
A sea urchin farm.
Yeah.
Sea urchin farm.
Yeah,
exactly.
Get the good uni.
I mean, Santa Barbara Seafood Company on the boardwalk is incredible. You just walk up there to the window. Get
Field
some
trip.
unis, I mean, anytime we could do a night there, I'd love to.
Yeah, down for that.
Hearing all of you, I feel like there were things that I didn't know. I think to your point, Spider, like the cost that it has on other people outside of myself. I was like, I'm going to make it work. Like, it'll be okay. But And I know you guys are upset, of course, but there's other things that we can't really quantify or yet, or maybe ever, or yeah. So it's making me think about those and making me feel a little bad about all this, but still going.
Well, I can say for sure that none of us intend to make you feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
My incentive, my incentive
yeah.
is to give you all the information, all the relevant details, so that it's not. Well, no, it's not. It's not about feeling bad. It's about integrating as much of the truth as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to understand that a given thing we might say on Tuesday in 3 months' time is informed by these feelings or these emotions, as opposed to stuff leaking out that we didn't say,
I hadn't articulated any of this in my mind before right now. And that, again, highlights the value of being here.
I don't think we would have gotten it out of you if there wasn't a mic in front of you. I think this might be the new mode.
It out,
Spider, what do you really think? And just wave an SM7
Spider,
at it.
you coming to dinner tonight?
Yeah.
I'll bring a mic over in front of me. Oh, all right.
Let's get the real juice here.
He responds.
No, it.
I mean, I don't know. There's not. I mean, I had a fairly exciting random mix thing happen today, but I'm not really thinking about music right now. There's a lot of loss happening in life, and it's just how am I supposed to come on and be like, hey guys, this is what you should do with your Waves plugins. Delete them all. I'd love to say that. Oh wait, I just said it. I mean that too, actually. I did say it, so that was a reflex, but I don't know what else to say. I'm just going to be real. I'd be really content with the podcast episode ending right now and calling it the guys give Michael shit for leaving episode, and then that's
I
that's
gotta
it.
keep packing. So
I have to wake up at 6. Yeah, so same.
And I've got to watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends again
to learn more.
All 24
Can you watch
episodes.
Into the Spider-Verse and I'll stay?
Yeah. But this is...
We're negotiating now?
Yeah.
Is that where we're at?
Yeah. Part of what we're doing here at the table is, I hope, giving people permission to be a little bit more 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional, and to be a little more human. So much of what we've explored over all these episodes is kind of the fucked up incentive structures on places like Instagram to front, and the limited bandwidth for real humanity in those things. Pretty pictures, yes. Achievements, yes. Sort of pity parties sometimes, but people are complex, and where what you just described with the guys, and just there's so many of those situations. I mean, we were working with someone who's listening tonight. 2 months ago, we're in his studio, and his father-in-law has passed from the pandemic. And it's this is real shit, real life, and different people are trying to bring mixes and records across the line, compete. They're worried about the trajectory of their career, what it means, decisions they've got to make, and by being here and doing this and just what you just said, it's hey, some days hey, here's a guy who's made some records you've heard of, and some days he's not fired up. I mean, the last month for me has been, as everyone knows who's listened, it's fairly dark place with my relationship to work. Now, having had those discussions with you guys and some other offline discussions with people, I'm feeling way better, way better, and kind of excited about the next chapter. But I had to go there, and I had to have permission to go there, or permission from you guys. There was no kind of we're not, not on mic. Don't talk about that. And that wasn't what that's not how we do it.
Yeah,
No.
more than permission.
Yeah, more than permission. It's encouraged and supported, and it's necessary.
Yes.
But it's this, and consequently we get messages like the one I got today, and the many others that we get. But that, being true to that feeling, you're in a funk. You've had a shitty couple of weeks.
Wait, let me just double down. I straight up today, let's just do the flex and then the down. This is a really easy one for me to do right now. The song I mixed today is already a hit song, and then it has another star performer added to it to make it a bigger hit song. So I just mixed a hit song today by default, and I'm the most miserable I've been in the last well, probably 30 years, maybe. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm wearing the same shirt for 4 days in a row, has a bunch of holes in it.
They're getting bigger.
They're getting bigger every fucking time. I haven't changed my pants. I've changed my underwear, just for the record, for everybody. But the same pants and shirt have been on for 4 or 5 days in a row. And I didn't go anywhere to get food or anything except for a mini kebab tonight. I just like ate smoked mussels from a tin, as I think you said it was a poetic thing. One of those episodes. I've been doing it all week. But I mixed a hit song today, and that means pretty much nothing to me in this mode. And I guarantee other people feel that. And they don't allow themselves to feel that, because that seems to be an illusion into what it means to be happy. But that does not make me, I mean, I had like an ounce of excitement when I heard Dale's Master, because it sounded really fucking good. Thanks, Dale. Anyway, that's the double down on the flex.
Because we're not our work. There are days when, you know, there are people who win Grammys and go home to cry themselves to sleep, and there are people who in some small town, someplace, record some dude playing a guitar, and it's the highlight of their week or month. You know, they have that session, like, that's just magical, and we've all had them. You know, I had a bunch of them over the years. You know, and we were talking about LA and your friend in New York giving you the warning of like what LA can do and not do. And definitely that's a part of the culture here. There's a kind of a disembodiment kind of that happens here, and a sort of focus on the metrics that can be pretty destructive, I think, for people. And I have the experience of, you know, I have a friend who's going through a rough patch at the moment. Another friend, of a lot of friends in my life recently have sort of, I think, you know, someone said, obviously COVID has a lot to do with this, but a lot of friends have hit different patches of depression or breakups or whatever. And we were talking about this thing, and just the game is hard, and it's hard even when you're strong and when you feel good and when you're excited. It's competitive. And then when you're inside feeling crappy and having to front and pretend, and you have this sort of disconnect, that can really take a toll on people.
There's actually science around this. So like people like waiters who need to smile and be friendly all the time, they actually aren't that happy. Like this fake it till you make it happiness thing doesn't work. The lying to yourself. Like when you're in a bad mood and you have to pretend you're in a good mood, it's actually exacting a toll.
Weren't we talking about this 3 weeks ago? And that's why I said I didn't want to go to parties or dinners or something when I was in a bad mood, because it wasn't my best self. You're like, you got to come. But that's like
that's not a summary of what we said. that is it.
Sorry, I don't have the words.
That's
today.
not a one-to-one there.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Nice try, Costelli.
I'm all about trying these days.
Yeah. But, you know, John, I think, John, your story about today is enlightening. It highlights this this thing about your emotions are happening, whether you want them to or not, right? They're a physical response to stimuli. Our feelings are the sort of like interpretation of those bodily responses. And you know, you can reframe all you want sometimes. Like, I'm sure you reframed this, I mixed a hit, I have so much going for me. You can like say whatever you want about it.
I didn't think that once.
Yeah, I mean, you
said it tonight on the mic because it just made sense in flex mode.
But you know, when we're like, anyway, reframing is a way to engage a feeling about a thing to, you know, maybe turn it more positive, right? It's a way of flipping the sensation you're getting. But there's only so much you can do to reframe, and you really need to be in a state of acceptance of what you're experiencing in order to process it.
Yes.
And if it goes unprocessed, now you're lying to your brain at the brain level. It's like you're lying to yourself, and that's going to exact a toll. It's going to tax you. And you know, so I think like what the three of us, and obviously actually Michael's doing this too, is, you know, being transparent about the emotion and the feelings you're having in this collective way. This is bringing like a group dynamic to that desire to accept, so that processing can occur in no longer a time course than it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why kick this processing down the road, right? It's like, let's put things on the table. You know, in your own mind, it's like, I'm noticing I'm feeling anxious right now. You're like, you can label the feelings you're having, and it gets you in touch with yourself, and immediately brings those feelings down a notch just by naming it and understanding it. And like the collective version of that is like, oh, now the four of us can integrate everything that was said from a collective level and do the same and process these details. And so that our narratives are more converged. You know, I think it's such an interesting concept of like, and it's so basic. And you know, it's a kind of Buddhist principle, you know, radical acceptance, whatever. It's like, you know, it's always in my experience been in conflict with professionalism. I've been feeling uncomfortable while working so often, right? That I think there's a trauma in that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? In like being anxious but being cool in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being worried about this thing but being being absent in the room in a way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think I'm like fishing for a hook in here.
Well,
when it comes to like the transparency to yourself, like that sort of acceptance of what's going on. Like if I would feel guilt about something awesome like that happening and me not feeling good about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I should be appreciating this. Like I would have weird, complicated feelings about it. You know what I mean? And that might be hard to accept because I don't identify somebody who doesn't fucking get excited about shit that I should be excited about. You know what I mean? That I don't appreciate it or whatever. I would have some kind of identity conflict going on there. And that's the danger of identity. Now I'm really going on one. That's the danger of identity. Is like, I don't identify with someone who's having these feelings, so I can't be having them.
Yeah.
But you actually are. And that lying to yourself, that's the two different storylines that go on unfinished and incomplete. And if we go on avoiding what's actually going on, we end up with all these bits of story. We end up alienated from our own history. We end up alienated from ourselves. And how do you expect to integrate with anyone? How do you expect to be known? Like, how could you be loved if you're not known and you're not even known to yourself?
Yeah.
You know. So I think when John put it on the table, I was like, yeah, this is an opportunity to, you know, to remove the layer between me and you guys, and you specifically. And I don't know, I just wanted to wireframe this for people so that, I don't know, they could evaluate it, experience it the way that I am, or in a useful way. I don't know.
Go, John.
No, please.
It sort of dovetails into some of the conversations we've had over the last couple of weeks with me and my work in terms of this being kind of black sheep, being the odd one out, being a little bit different to other people you're around, and dumbing that down or rounding the sharp edges or whatever it is. That sort of process of sort of finding level with people, but not in the healthy way, not in that fully being known way, you know, where you're just trying to, where you have complicated feelings, you know, and you have ideas that aren't in line with what other people are thinking. They're more disruptive, or they're more in opposition or whatever. And having the choice of like, well, I either cause a scene here, or I diminish myself and pretend I don't have this idea, or I don't believe this thing, or I don't have a point of view on this situation, or I don't believe that this conversation is going nowhere, you know?
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
We all compromise. Like that's our brains are doing it, whether we want to do it or not. There are impulses, there's inhibition. It's that's how the brain is made.
Mm-hmm.
It's an argument with itself all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? There's impulses coming up. There's areas of the brain, structures in the brain, and then there's inhibitory structures, and there are neurochemicals associated with that ability. The not doing, we do as much as doing. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're all regulating all the time to fit in to our own sense of identity, right? The homeostasis and comfort around that, and then with other people. Like, I forget who it was, and we sort of brought it up. Maybe it was Seth Godin. Like, when he talks about authenticity, he's like, yeah, that's a 2-year-old. Like, that's not what we
His
want.
take on that
That's
is
not. Right? That's uninhibited. So it's a balance. It's really about how much you compromise and in what dimensions. But we're all doing it. There's no such thing as no compromise. We're all in a group dynamic.
When we have dinner, when you guys are over in any combination and we're having dinner with the girls, of course, it's sort of exaggerated a little in COVID. So, people who listen regularly know I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're super excited to have guests and have fun. And of course, it's us, these 4 at the table, and my wife, So the conversations are like this. They're much like these conversations. And of course, the kids are impatient and want to be part of the conversation, want to play. But quite often it sort of shines a light on like the mechanics of conversation, because one of the girls will ring a glass to get our attention, to say something. And it's like, well, we don't do that in conversation. So you're saying, hey, this is not how you have your voice heard at the table. You wait for an opening. And it's like, well, there wasn't one. It's like, that's true. We're all pretty
true.
animated.
We're pretty on it.
It's a pretty fiery conversation here. We're excited about whatever, Michael's trip or whatever we're talking about. And then it's like, of course, at the other extreme, it's like someone who clearly has something to say and isn't saying it, a little girl who feels excluded or whatever. And you're trying to teach the mechanics of this, and it really points to these processes that we've learned and sort of internalized, but there is a thing at play. There is a system, as you say, of sort of suppression or inhibition,
regulation.
Yeah. However, and they're natural processes and not always easy to and some not always perfectly calibrated. There are a lot of people who inhibit because they've been burned as a child or a young adult for saying things or for having big emotions or uncomfortable ideas or
let's just be a little bit more technical there. So because that is we're talking about causes of maladaptive inhibition. And let's just say it's not because of those experiences. It's from not integrating them.
Mm.
There are lots of people that experience very extreme abuse and horrible things, but for whatever reason, they have an ability to integrate what happened, and it's not as traumatic. Whereas some people have less of a capacity to sustain trauma-inducing events. So a mild event could cause a severe kind of maladaptive inhibition. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit more of a compassionate. It produces a bit more of a compassionate view.
Well, and it's so obvious. You see someone like Guyan, Harsi Ali, and it's like there's someone who's been through. Her life story is insane. And you have this incredible, functioning, high-achieving, articulate human.
Yeah.
And
with
other
such
people.
a big heart for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
for
other
children,
people.
and she's a hero.
If we were to rank their relative trauma, it's someone raised a voice at them once, or someone smacked their wrist when they tried to do something. And it's like, that's not being born in a war zone or whatever, but it has an effect, sometimes a very serious effect, turns out humans are complicated. Who knew?
Speaking of complicated humans,
Yes.
I wanted to bring it back to Michael.
Yes.
Because, I put it out, I put my feelings on the table. The guys did the same. But, I want to say before we end that I'm in full support of whatever your decisions are, even if you don't come back. Like, I think, you in your search for what comes next is, that's the most important thing to me. That you follow your inner voice and do what you got to do. You know what I mean? I want you to know that.
Thank you. The other day, I was hanging out with Addison and we got sake. Sake?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Either one.
That's how I pronounce it. Anyway, we cheersed and he said, "Hope you find whatever you're looking for." And I was like, "Thanks, dude." Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, gonna miss you guys and see you. see you around.
It's the same project. I co-sign what Spider said 100%, and it's the same thing that John paraphrased incorrectly on purposely what we were saying to John 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is we want you at dinner in whatever condition you're in.
Yeah.
We need you at dinner in whatever condition you're in. It's the same thing that happened when I came to the table with my heart and the stuff I was struggling with. I put it on the table. More you guys draw it out of me and help me understand it and get some perspective and move through it. So it's the same thing. I think we want that for you. We want, just what Spider said. He said it better. So it's the same thing. It's that we want you to be authentically your best self, or your truest self, I guess. So, go do it.
Yeah.
And make sure your internet is good and you're plugged into the wire. And one more thing, watch out for the Gila monsters.
I've been looking for whatever I've been looking for quite some time, so I hope you find it before I do.
I'll let you know what it feels like.
Yeah, well, we might already have it here, certainly one aspect of it. So
that's possible.
Yeah, I think we're all in many different ways extraordinarily lucky. So I was trying to impress this upon one of my daughters this evening. There was the burden of COVID and not being able to pet a neighbor's dog or having petted it and gotten too close and no masks and
remember those problems?
Yeah, just that kind of that stuff. And you're trying to say, hey, I know this is a grind. I know where we're at, but we're so lucky right now that friends of mine who just my brother stopped working the day of the first lockdown and hasn't worked at all. In Ireland. And I've worked through the whole thing and had the busiest year of my life. So in so many ways, we're so lucky, So I'm full support of the journey to find whatever you're looking for, but it's also we have it here in this conversation and in our friendship and what we're doing. So I've thought about pivots and I've thought about taking it other places, but I gotta
go to bed.
Yeah, I don't think there's.
I gotta finish packing.
Yeah.
Let's call it. That was great.
It was great.
Thanks for bringing it back around to the support, because we all really do mean that. So
yeah, and thank you for putting it on the table, John, in the first place, because I don't know that I would have tonight. So
what would you have spoken about?
I don't know. I didn't have anything, but I don't know that I would have. I didn't have the words for the feelings that I had today. And that's again what Spider was saying earlier. That's what this thing is. Among other things, is finding those words and finding that shorthand, and we can reference this moment and build on it, our understanding for the next time we're at some kind of similar looking crossroads.
Find your four.
Yeah, that's it. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Good night. Yeah, that's it. Done. Yeah, that's the episode.
We don't want to call it one more thing.
Conversations is produced and mixed by Dylan Seals. The Conversations theme was performed and recorded by the Hazelrick Brothers.